What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Leo. It is awesome to have you here. I hope you are having a good day. I do actually mean that. I mean that genuinely. I talk about matters that are pertinent to men of all ages, and I do my best to talk about those matters in alternative ways. I think there are way too many echo chambers out there, and I don't want to be cynical or pessimistic and say that critical thought is dead. Critical thinking, that's ironic. Critical thinking is what I meant. But I will say that critical thinking is not what it used to be. I'll leave that for now because that's a whole other can of worms. One other thing I will say is I appreciate you taking your time to watch this video. I feel like there is a never-ending amount of videos to consume now. And the fact that you chose mine, the fact that you gave mine a chance, especially since I'm very new to making videos, means a lot to me. I wanted to talk about something that unfortunately is not uncommon, and that's cheating, and you obviously surmised that because you looked at the thumbnail and hopefully you read at least the title, if not the description. However, I want to talk about this subject in a way that I believe is not talked about enough in any sort of community in which matters that are pertinent to men are talked about. And in a way, I sort of want to help change your way of thinking of cheating, if not completely change the way that you look at it, especially if you've done it. And I'll get this out of the way right now. If you have cheated, and asterisk if you feel remorse, if you've cheated and you feel remorse, I'm not here to judge you. In fact, I think you're going to find a lot of value in this video. Well, at least I hope you find value in this video. And also, I have cheated myself, so I think that's another good disclaimer to throw in here. I've cheated myself. I've cheated on 2 of my ex-girlfriends. And when I say that, to this day, those actions and more than anything, those choices still haunt me. Man, I don't think I'll ever find the words to truly describe how much those decisions haunt me. Not because I think that if I hadn't cheated, my life would be better, because by default of having not cheated, I would still be with those women. It could very well be, and in fact, I know that we were not compatible. However, that doesn't matter. What matters is that I failed my own character. I failed myself, and I failed them in a way that I would like to describe, I would like to talk about. And again, I should also give you guys a bit of a warning. This is going to get a bit dark. The subject matter of this video can probably be somewhat intense for some people, particularly people who are just sensitive to just the experience of life, if that makes sense. But I think this is something that needs to be talked about. Anyhow, enough delaying. So I think that cheating is absolutely wrong, not just because it's a form of dishonesty, not just because it's one of the ultimate forms of disrespecting someone, but also because when you cheat, and I'll add another asterisk here, and you keep that information from the person on whom you're cheating, you're stealing time from their life. And again, I told you it was going to get dark. I told you that this was not going to be a conversation for the faint of heart. I didn't say it that way, to be fair, but I'll say it now. This is not a conversation. I'm not really talking to anyone but myself. But, hopefully with enough subscribers, we'll be able to have a conversation. This is something I just don't hear about enough. But when you cheat on someone and you don't tell them, when you keep mum about it, when you decide to conceal that information, which is also wrong in and of itself, you are deciding for the both of you that the relationship is going to continue, that it's going to move forward, which is, all kinds of toxic, which may or may not stem from a narcissism that's operating completely unchecked. But essentially, you're deciding this is going to continue, and I'm going to deprive, this is the most important part, I believe, the other person of the opportunity to make a choice upon having received, the information they needed in the first place to be able to make that choice. All right, trust me, I'm not going to try and wax philosophical here, guys. And in fact, I think this is a pretty simple topic. In depriving that person of that choice, you're quite possibly preventing them, blocking them from either enjoying a single life, singlehood, or maybe even more importantly, depending on how they're like, the opportunity to go and find or be found by someone else with whom they may enjoy a good life, someone who won't disrespect them in that way. And I think a big reason why many of us cheat and keep mum about it is because we want to have our cake and eat it too. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be serious, right? The major reason why my past misdeeds, my past infidelity, like I said, I'm not going to edit anything. Whatever comes after I press play is what we're both going to get. When I think about my past misdeeds, the reason they haunt me so much is because I stole time from those people's lives, and they confirmed it for me. Not that we had this discussion in particular when we broke up, and when that ugly conversation was had, but they both of them essentially expressed, I could have otherwise done this or that if I had known. And they were completely within their right to say that. And of course, in the moment when they were saying that to me, it didn't hit as hard, right? Being able to appreciate just how brutal of a person I was at that time came afterwards, with a lot of meditation, a lot of looking in the mirror, to use some Jungian language, a lot of shadow work. I'll make a video on shadow work because I think there's not enough talk about that within the men's community. And no, I'm not one of those, in case you guys are wondering, one of those new agey. Do people still use that term? Do I sound like a boomer saying new agey? I'm not one of those, I don't want to use labels either, whatever. I'm not going to get into, I'm not an absolutist in any way or another. I'm very open-minded. We'll talk about a lot of stuff. I'll leave it at that. But to this day, I think about how I stole time from those women's lives. And God, I just said I won't talk about cryptic stuff. I will veer. I'm not gonna lie. I will veer every now and then towards, I don't know, what may be labeled as cryptic in this place, in this reality, but I just get the sense that when you cheat on someone, and especially if you cheat on more than one person, especially if your cheating spans across multiple relationships, if you're a serial cheater, to use a term that's well known, I don't think there's any escaping the karma that comes afterwards. I think one of the worst things you can do to someone in this life is not just lie to them, which again is what happens during cheating on the surface, I believe, but I think one of the worst things you could possibly do to someone in this life is steal time from them, is wake up next to them every day and not tell them what they need to know in order to leave you. If you were an otherwise good person, I know that might sound contradictory, because I know a lot of people believe, once a cheater, always a cheater. And if you're a cheater, or if you have cheated, if you've committed infidelity, you are by default a bad person. I don't believe that. Again, I'm not an absolutist. But if you are generally a good person and you've cheated, I'm telling you right now, as a dude in his early 40s, it will never stop haunting you. It will never leave you. And in fact, you have to make peace with that in a way in order to continue functioning in life. Because if you are generally a good person, if you're a person who is in touch with their conscience, especially if you're a person who's able to smash their ego to bits every single day and look in the mirror and know who they are, it's going to haunt you for a long time until you're able to manage it. And kind of like a disease, you never get rid of it, but you manage it. And in a way that becomes humbling. And what you do is, to use a metaphor, the first metaphor that comes to mind is an alarm, right? It's like whenever you get these pangs of guilt, because they'll come if you do something like this, especially if you're with a woman for years and you've had a serious relationship with her, and you cheat on her. You later on in life, as you become wiser, as you become someone, a man who's able to appreciate the priceless value of time, you'll get these pangs of guilt. And the key is essentially to reduce its intensity so that it doesn't cripple you, so that it doesn't cripple your soul and your ability to keep going and forgive yourself. And what you do is you silence it. It's no longer an alarm that sounds, but rather maybe a set of bells that ring. Those kinds that people used to have in their front doors or something every time a gust of wind goes by. That might not be the best metaphor, but you guys know what I mean. You're going to feel pangs of guilt for as long as you need to, I believe. But if you want to avoid that, if you want to avoid one more skeleton in your closet, if you want to, I'm telling you, if you're tempted to cheat, if you've been in a situation lately where you could have easily cheated and you're going to be in that situation again, let's say it's with someone at work, etc., Or if you have cheated, just stop. I'm asking you, as a stranger on the internet, you don't owe me anything. But I'm asking you from a very vulnerable place, because I do actually want guys to understand this. I'm asking you to just stop. Think really deeply, redundant. Think deeply about what it is you're about to do, what it is you are going to risk, what it is you are really doing, because what you're really doing is either you're stealing time from someone's life or you're about to steal time from someone's life if you want to cheat and keep quiet about it. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm telling you, as someone who has cheated on women, someone who is to this day haunted by those decisions. It's a decade later, almost. Don't do it. It's not worth it. I know that woman may be hot, and it may consume you. The lust that's in you whenever you see her, and I know it's almost too easy, and I even know that there's kind of a dark curiosity in many of us to satiate our dark side, to sate our dark side in a way that, we think would sate it, but really our dark side is not it's not something that we satiate that way. That's for another video. But the mind can play tricks on you. The mind can make you sometimes think, oh, just do this, just be bad because it's fun to be bad, and that's what's cool. And I'm telling you, as a guy who thought that way and who's done it, don't do it. Don't do it. I think this video is getting too long, so I think we're going to end it. Before we end it, I want to tell you why I cheated, because a lot of you guys are going to be thinking, who are you to talk like this if you've done it, right? I'm no different than you guys. I asked myself this question many times, and I cheated because I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. Were those women ultimately not compatible for me? Yes, but I could have ended it with them because I knew they were not compatible for me. Before the cheating and through the cheating, I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. It took a while for me to say that to myself. I didn't lie to myself, but I wasn't able to say it out loud to myself. I wasn't able to admit it to myself. And I'm telling you guys, for the last time, it's not worth it. Don't steal time from someone else's life, because every second that you keep quiet about what you did is a second they lose in their life. All right? That's it. This time it's really it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, drop a like. If you want to subscribe, that'd be awesome. If you don't want to, that's cool too. There's never any pressure. All right. See you guys next time.